Nothing says you care like crypto.
Boomers have destroyed planet Earth as we know it. These apex predators may seem sweet and non-threatening at first glance, but when they put on their reading glasses and realise you're not their grandson, they'll wonder why you were sitting on their lap in the first place. Boomers had to fabricate a story of imaginary hardship to paint themselves as the underdog and disguise the fact that they bought their first home at the age of 21, 50 quid. Boomers always practice self-love. They're the first generation in human history that wanted to do better than their children. To further consolidate their power, many boomers chose to become landlords, trapping millennials into a rental market that they couldn't escape from, upping the rent prices ad infinitum to reflect their own cost of living comfortably from their holiday home in Venice. Boomers view life through an honour system, meaning they're older than you, so you have to shut up and honour them, no matter how many times they're flirting with the waitress. Beyonce famously stated, "Who run the world? Girls." But in the current climate, we can argue that this is obviously bullshit. The world is run by boomers, and whenever they make a mistake, their skill at delegating responsibility to a subordinate means that boomers get to alleviate the stiffness of their back pain by redistributing the weight of the world onto a younger person's self-entitled shoulders.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, guys, the boomers really have screwed us over. They screwed the pooch, bro. They screwed the pooch. The boomers stole our futures. And it's going to take a lot to steal it back. But one of the best ways that we can do that is actually using crypto. More details coming a little bit later. You know, guys, you might be wondering, Angry, why is the video a little bit late? You know, guys, I want to tell you something. I have so much TRAUMA because of the baby boomers that if I even have a moment to think about all I've been through because of these bad apples, I just don't want to do anything. I don't know. The boomers have left their kids with tons of TRAUMA, you know. I know I have some Gen Zers listening. I can't say the word. Sorry, kids. So I know you can't. You guys don't really read or write very well. So of course you can't spell. But you know, figure it out or use dictation. You know, just do what you guys do to get through and graduate from high school without being able to read. You know, guys, watch to the end of the video to fully understand the implications of what the boomers have done and the severity of how they've stole our futures and what this means for society and everyone else going forward, including the boomers themselves. Don't forget to follow us over on Rumble. Most of our content is now exclusively being released on Rumble. So if there's like a day where that goes by and you don't see a video on the tube, it's because it's on Rumble. And I just don't love, you know, the tube as much as I used to. You know, it's like it's a relationship where you're in a relationship with someone who doesn't treat you right, but then it's like, baby, come here when they want something from you. And it's like, yeah, no, not this time. Not this time. You know, I'm basically charting my way, my way out. You know, freedom isn't free, kids. Freedom isn't free. It's something you have to fight for, suffer for, sometimes even give your life for. Freedom is not free. We'll go ahead and jump into the videos in just a moment. But if you guys want to be free from the boomers and, you know, gain freedom from the boomers and their and all the terrible things they've done and continue to do in society, don't forget to check out Angry's Crypto Academy, because crypto is going to free us from the narcissism of the boomers. It's an economy that we control. They barely understand the technology and they're greedy. So you know that as when they start rushing in, they're going to want them all for themselves. So they're going to begin buying like crazy. And that's going to give us the opportunity to take that wealth for ourselves. You know, hard times have arrived. ATMs will stop working and banks will chain the doors. Protect your wealth and safeguard your future with crypto. Angry's Crypto Academy offers comprehensive courses, expert investment guides, and our exclusive crypto blueprints to teach you how to buy, sell, trade, and invest in crypto. You'll learn exactly which coins have the potential to create new millionaires and how to spot the best investment opportunities Don't miss out. Secure your financial future now. The Academy is linked in the description of the video. So, I mean, I talk about how much the boomers misbehave, and it's just paramount. Very, very paramount. We're dealing with extraordinary narcissists. I mean, this is the first generation of people that wanted to do better than their kids. You know, it's an absolutely terrible situation from an absolutely terrible generation. Absolutely terrible generation. Let me read this from Monkey. Monkey says, my boomer parents did everything they could to sabotage my life until I finally ghosted them forever. Terrible, 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 man. It's like these people are just something else. Blade of Justice says, we're all feeling the same, I agree. Guys, I tell you, it's so hard because, like, a lot of generations have no idea the devastation that Gen Xers have lived through. Gen Xers, Zennials, older millennials, they don't know the devastation we've lived through being the children of the boomers. The boomers just have done so much bad, and they did not like their kids. And they continue to do tons and tons of bad in the world, and then passing the buck on to younger generations while gaslighting them into believing that everything is their fault because they're not working hard enough, not taking responsibility enough, don't know how to properly manage their money. Boomers are out here mocking people. We're mocking millennials for eating avocado toast because a lot of them could not afford meat. Meat is expensive. Now boomers are mocking Gen Zers for buying groceries. Like, oh my gosh, look at them. They're buying groceries, because they love their groceries. They can't afford to eat out anymore. A lot of young people cannot afford to eat out anymore. So the boomers are now mocking young people for buying groceries. Guys, if these are not sociopaths and truly horrible people, I don't know what else will sum it up. These are terrible human beings. Shout out to Sophia Starr. She says the boomers are the absolute worst generation. And then let me tell you what the boomers and the boomers and the zoomers do, because the zoomers are just reincarnations of the boomers. The boomers stuck around for so long that they started to respawn. What they do is they then start saying that you're trying to divide us. You're creating generational rifts. Every generation has always, talk crap about the generations that have come after them. The boomers and the zoomers collectively have been attacking the millennials and then especially Gen X. The question is, why? The boomers did not let me tell you about the boomers. The boomers have not liked any generation that came before them or any generation that came after them. Many of the boomers believe that they are the greatest generation. They claim and it's complete lies because they were children. They claim that they rebuilt the world after the events of WW2. These are lies. This is propaganda. If you want to know who the man behind the curtain really is, it's the baby boomers. And by the way, guys, don't forget we're going to jump over to Rumble exclusively, soon enough. Like after 30 minutes on the tube, we go over to Rumble. So, just remember, you're going to get your 5-minute warning soon. The link to Rumble is in the description of the video, and it's also in the chat. So you guys will know when it's time to go. It's time to go. It's pinned in the chat. But yeah, the boomers claim that they rebuilt a broken world after WW2. This is a lie. The boomers were born in 1946. And the reason why the baby boomers are called the baby boomers is because we experienced a massive boom in the economy when they were born. People began to start having babies. And as a result of that, it created extraordinary stimulation in the economy and opportunities. It was actually, do you really want to know who rebuilt the world? It was the WW2. It was actually the silent generation. No. It was actually the greatest generation. So efforts to rebuild started even before the WAR came to an end. And it was the greatest generation who basically participated in multiple different WARs And they're the ones who also rebuilt everything. The silent generation, of course, played a role in this, but you have to understand, like the silent generation, these people were born in like 1928 was like the earliest of the silent generation, I believe. So most of them did not fight in WW2 because they were too young. It was the greatest generation who fought in that. It was the greatest generation who did all of the rebuilding. The silent generation helped out a bit once they started to come of age, but during the during the largest expansion, during the actual boom, it was all the greatest generation. And they did all of this because they wanted to create a world better for their children, which, and the boomers ended up getting everything. So the boomers are actually, the boomers are interesting. They were born, they actually come from both the greatest generation and the silent generation. So they are the children of both the greatest generation and the silent generation. It's a very intriguing thing, depending on how old they are and where they fall in. They were basically told that, they are the world revolves around them, they are the future, and the focus was giving them everything that they wanted. Many celebrities did not raise their children like the boomers because they did not want their children to turn out like the boomers. And I'll explain. During that time, many celebrities, many wealthy people, and Donald Trump is actually a good example because he's a boomer. His father was a very wealthy man. His father was a very famous man. And they were not given everything that they wanted. His father did not give Donald or his brothers or any of that everything that they wanted. They were not given this life of luxury. And I know it sounds crazy, but they did not give their children the typical boomer upbringing, even though they were filthy rich, because they didn't want their children to turn into absolute snobs and sociopaths, which is actually something that Donald Trump did with his own children, where he talked about, like, for example, during Christmas time, their children would only be given one toy. He would give his, even his daughter, Tiffany Trump, he did not give her lots of money. And she wanted a credit card at some point. When she got older, she wanted a credit card, and she went to Ivanka, and basically Ivanka went and spoke to Donald. Like, Donald was like, what should I give Tiffany for Christmas? And Ivanka had already spoken to Tiffany, and Ivanka said, you can give her a credit card with a low monthly limit, right? Because that's how Donald rolled. So that's exactly what he did. He gave her first credit card with a $500 spending limit. And everyone knew that she had only a $500 spending limit because when she would go out to eat with her friends, she would count every single nickel and dime. And that taught her responsibility. Okay? There were a lot of parents during the boomer era, not as many, that did not want their children to become like the baby boomers. So they took precautions not to spoil their kids. There were a lot of wealthy people who took precautions not to spoil their kids. So while the average baby boomer was getting all of this luxury, they're getting every freaking toy, everything, the wealthier people of their generation were frightened, and they took precautions to prevent this from happening to their own children because they realized where things were headed, and they understood that it was nowhere good. They got it right off the bat. They were like, yeah, this is not good. This is not good at all. We need to take precautions. We absolutely need to take precautions. And that's just the situation. That's just the circumstance. I don't feel sorry for the boomers. I honestly do not feel sorry for the boomers at all, because they've done so much bad in our society, and they're going to just continue gaslighting hard, like just nonstop, because they can't stop, won't stop. Television played a massive role in destroying the boomer generation. They were the first generation to be indoctrinated by television. They basically sat in front of the TV and they were allowed to watch as much television as they wanted to and do whatever the hell they wanted to. And they grew up to be very terrible parents. You know what's very interesting? While the boomers sat around watching endless amounts of television, We weren't allowed to watch a lot of television growing up. Many of us Gen Xers are Zennials or older millennials. We were not allowed to watch lots of television or unlimited amounts of television. Everything for most of us were restricted. You wanted to, when you were sick, you wanted to go to school. All right. And your parents did not care, because if you stayed home, they were going to make your life miserable. There was no TV, no entertainment, nothing. Couldn't even read a book. You were going to stay in bed and that's it. Okay. We had horrible parents, absolutely terrible parents. Our parents were so horrible that we ended up just dragging ourselves to school, because hell, we would have a better time at school being sick and suffering than to stay home and be around those people, because they were horrible people to be around. Our parents are horrible people. They are miserable people to be around, just terrible people. That's why so many Gen Xers were happy to get away from them when they turned 18. They were like, get the hell out. By the time you're 18, get out. For me, my father told me to get out by the time I turned 14. Like at like 7 years old, he's telling me, just get ready for it. He would tell me constantly, I want you out by 14. I want you out at 14. He would constantly tell me, I want you out at 14. I'm, as a little kid, like literally, I don't like you. He made it very clear how much he did like. My father stole from me. Like he was like, this is as a teenager, my father was stealing from me. When I got my first job, he started stealing from me. Guys, this is nothing. Some people are like, oh, Angry, you just had bad parents. No, I did. It's the people. It's them. It's how they, guys, you think I had it bad? Jesus, I had it pretty bad. I can't talk about everything I want to say. I can't say everything I want to say here, but I will say, once we move over to Rumble, I will give you guys the full story if I remember to, and I'll go deeper into my struggles when it came to the baby boomers and what happened. But there are many people who got it even worse than I did. Many Gen Xers who got it even worse than I did. The boomers are horrible people. Absolutely horrible people. Absolutely terrible people, like among the worst people to ever walk the face of this awful earth. This awful earth. They'll just turn around and gaslight you and say, stop, you need to take accountability, you need to be responsible, blah, 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 trying to shut you up. And if any members of their generation basically steps up and starts talking about how the boomers messed up, they'll start flagging their comments. Every time a boomer leaves comments on my chat, on my videos, talking about how the boomers messed up, like talking about what their generation did, some boomer comes along and reports the comment and takes the comment down, and then starts posting all kinds of diatribes of nonsense about taking accountability and tons of trash. It's happened multiple times. Every time a baby boomer comes along and calls out their generation, the boomers come along and flag the comment and take it down. This is who the boomers are. If you talk about the boomers will try to silence you. It sounds very interesting. The same people who are claiming that they're not responsible, and they'll go into these conspiracy theories that they are a group of people who are, guys, it's them. It's the boomers. If there's anyone behind the curtain, the boomers are working for them. They're the ones who facilitate it. They're the ones who voted for it. Guys, you can see their patterns of behavior. And they tore down the nuclear family. They completely destroyed the nuclear family, and it was done deliberately. Like, the boomers are so crazy. The boomers are so absolutely crazy that they're like, if people, like, when we talk about how the boomers destroyed the nuclear family and the fact that the nuclear family is the bedrock of society, the boomers will say, if you want to have a family, go have one of your own. Don't expect us to give you that. Don't expect you, like, who the hell are you to expect anything from us? All right. If you want to have a family, you're not supposed to be staying at home with us. If you want a family, go and make one for yourselves. Before the boomers, guys, it was normal for multiple generations of people to live under the same roof. And as a result, they were able to save assets. They were able to save on resources. The baby boomers forced everyone out, so now everyone has to go. Everyone has to have their own home. Everyone has to drive their own car. There's no more sharing of resources. There's no more, well, you have all of these family members living together, so there's always someone to watch your kids. Okay. And guys, this is another thing. The boomers did not want to take care of their grandkids. Just like they did not like their children. Of course, they don't want to take care of their grandkids. These are bad people. These are extremely, extremely bad people. So they did, guys. As a result of that, you end up in a society where everyone has to. It's all about consumerism, and everyone has to have more, 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 and it's never ending. It's a never ending cycle. And of course, they just want to silence you. They just want to shut you up. Guys, there's going to have to be something. There's going to have to be something, you know, to deal with the situation, to address this crap, because the boomers have put us into this crisis, and it's 100% them. 100% them. They stole everything, guys. They tore. Guys, you don't understand. Let me tell you something. When I don't want to, when like, I'm here. I just need a moment. uh, yeah. When I'm not working, when I'm having those days where I just don't want to do anything, 99% of the time it's because of the baby boomers. A lot of it's not always the baby boomers, but it's the society that they've created. But a lot of it's trauma. You see, for Gen X, Millennials, older millennials, children of the boomers, the way we deal with things is just basically is through hard work. We stay focused and we grind and we grind and we grind and we grind. If we stop grinding, if we stop working, if we basically stop for a moment and just start thinking, we our traumas from our childhoods, they come back and they start to, and it's just horrible. And if you ever try to have a conversation with a boomer, many of you guys don't know this, you'll just get the boomer lead paint stare from them. If you ever try to discuss anything that happened, anything, because these people think that they're perfect, if they cannot if they cannot respond, they just give you the boomer lead paint stare, or they look. It's like they go. It's like a demon looking back at you, where their eyes turn dark and their mouth hangs open. Or it's like a zombie, and they just stare at you, and it's like they're not. And it's like, what the hell is this? Why are you doing this? They look. They drop their jaw, and they just look at you, and they just stare directly at you, and it's like there's no soul inside of them. It's like a zombie is staring at you, or something ghostly from another world is staring at you. It can be quite frightening. Many of us who have boomer parents, you know what I'm talking about. Some of you all will say you just don't care, but it's a horrible thing. I hate it so much. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, guys, the boomers, they destroyed the nuclear family, and they did it this deliberately, absolutely deliberately. It was 100% something that they chose to do, and it's never ending with them. By the way, guys, 5 minute warning, 5 minute warning. You guys have 5 minutes to get over to Rumble, and then we're going to move the stream over there exclusively. So you've been given your 5 minute warning. I could care less about your feels. 5 minute warning. 5 minute warning. It's like Spider-Man. Spider-Man. The radioactive Spider-Man. 5 minute warning. 5 minute warning.
You think that moving out of your family's house is a psyop?
It is not just the act of moving out of your family's house, but consider this. If you have 10 members of a family, and they all scatter to the four winds, where they at least a half hour apart from each other, or more, 2 hours apart, states apart, and they will not see each other anymore, and they're going to pay 10 different sets of rent, 10 different sets of utilities, 10 different sets of groceries, 10 different sets of everything, then what are they going to do? They will live alone in these apartments or in these small structures. They will desperately crave connection with strangers. They will spend tons of money on escapist entertainment. The research actually shows the average American spends about 5 years of their life on escapist entertainment now, and that was before COVID. We need to actually update that information for after COVID now. But the average person, their depression is off the charts. They are crushingly lonely. Among millennials, for example, the research shows that up to 65% of them report overwhelming loneliness, and 35% of them report such incredible loneliness that they report feelings. So I know that this system is not working. I know that shoving people back into bad families is not the answer, but fixing families where they are truly loving and caring and nurturing, building better systems where the families can take care of each other and where there's accountability as well, so that families are governed with real love and care and nurturing, and then getting people reconnected so they're not financially struggling with 10 different sets of rent, but they can all pool their money, and then everybody has more money and more resources and less stress that way. Building that system back is exactly what we need, so that people can at least find some safety and security in this world, and then they can talk about the problems and they can solve them together as a family.
The boomers tore down the family unit. The boomers did not teach kids how to get along with one another. They did not teach children the importance of family and unity. They are horrible people, guys. They are horrible people. You know, in the Philippines, young people are taught that the family is the foundation for a Filipina. Even though a lot of Filipinas will take advantage of you, there is one thing that you do know about Filipinas, and even despite, because all women share the same nature, but cultural differences can change behaviors among women. And if there's one thing we do know for sure about a Filipina, is that the family is the center of her life, because she sees the family as her means of survival. She comes to the understanding that if she does not have the family unit, she will have nothing at all. So for her, her siblings, her parents, that is a foundation. She will sacrifice to ensure that her siblings can go to school, so that her parents have a roof over their head. All of these things, because the family is the center. All right. Something that shocks me about the Philippines, and I need to talk to MK Fitness about this, or MK Gaming as he calls himself now, is like, I look at the shopping malls in the Philippines, and there's something shocking about the shopping malls. They're packed. The shopping malls in the Philippines are packed, and they resemble something like from the 90s and the 80s. Back in the 90s and 80s, shopping malls used to be just packed. There were always people in the shopping malls. Today, there are fewer and fewer shopping malls in the United States, because people increasingly don't actually leave their homes to go shopping. They just order everything. They just DoorDash everything, which is, by the way, something that's going to have a grave impact on Gen Z. Not just Gen Z, but more so Gen Alpha. I actually have a video regarding that. Let me see if I can find this video. It's a very interesting thing. They talk about how it talks about how Gen Alpha basically is the first generation to have a servant for everything. Many of you are like, a servant? Gen Alpha has servants. They do have servants, and you're going to understand in a moment. You're going to understand in a moment, but only if you are on Rumble, because I did give you the 10-minute warning. I did say to you guys, listen, friends, listen, fam. You have 10 minutes to get over. Not 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I don't give you 10 minutes. I'm not giving you guys 10-minute warnings. I gave you your 5-minute warning, and if you didn't take advantage of that, then now you're pound SOL. You know what pound SOL stands for? It's pound crap out of luck. It's obviously you're like, S that should not stand. S cannot be an acronym for C. I had to use C. I had to use a word that started with C instead of a word that started with S. But you understand, it's like dialing pound SOL. You're pound crap out of luck. All right, same, or poop out of luck. That's it. But yeah. So anyway, if you want to continue watching, you can do that over on Rumble. It's linked in the description of the video. It's also linked in the chat and pinned in the chat. But yeah, that's just how it goes. The boomers have, just like the boomers were indoctrinated just like the boomers were indoctrinated by television, Gen Z has been indoctrinated by social media. They're the first generation to be heavily indoctrinated by social media, and Gen Alpha, they're an extension of that, and you're going to see the indoctrination going even further. And you're going to see how how that's really been impacting them compared to other generations. Yeah, so we actually have, like I said, we have a video that's going to delve into that further. We're going to put that on momentarily, unless you're on the tube right now.